Thomas and Friends, Railway Rhymes. Thomas and Friends, Railway Rhymes. Illustrated by Richard Courtney. Thomas. Thomas is a tank engine, who's small and short and blue. He sometimes causes mischief, but his heart is good and true. Engines don't have hearts, you say, and that is very smart. But Thomas's good nature proves he doesn't need a heart. For those with hearts and good and kind, they help when times are tough. They stick by friends and those in need, and cannot give enough. They listen when they're spoken to, and try to do their best. They know there's time to work real hard, and time to play and rest. So Thomas doesn't have a heart, but he is all of these. Good, hard-working, smart, and kind, he always aims to please. And on his branch line back and forth, he's loyal to the end. And with his boiler he is still a really useful friend. Sir Topham Hatt. Who's the one who must be sure that service is first rate? Who cheers the trains when they're on time and chides them when they're late? Who keeps the branch line safe and sound and makes sure mail gets through? Who's the one who runs the rails? Sir Topham Hatt, that's who. Gordon, Part 1. Here comes Gordon, big and strong. He's pulling the express along. There goes Gordon, he hasn't time to linger while we read this rhyme. Trevor. Trevor was old and one day he was sold for scrap, which made him quite sad. Thomas wasn't amused. He thought Trevor ill-used, and this made Thomas mad. But then Thomas thought, I know help is sought at Victor's orchard and farm, so Thomas implied Trevor ought to be tried. He surely can't do any harm. Well, the vicar adored him, and he implored him. I said Victor. I meant Vicar. Trevor. Trevor was old, and one day he was sold for scrap, which made him quite sad. Thomas wasn't amused. He thought Trevor ill-used, and this made Thomas mad. But then Thomas thought, I know help is sought at the vicar's orchard and farm, so Thomas implied Trevor ought to be tried. He surely can't do any harm. Well, the vicar adored him, and he implored him to stay and assist with the chores. And now I am guessing that Trevor's a blessing, doing work that I know he adores. Cranky. Off the train, onto the ship, the crates and barrows must not slip. Off the ship, onto the train, in the sun, the snow, the rain. Back and forth, and to and fro. He has no wheels, he cannot go. Day in, day out, the whole year through. Wouldn't you be cranky too? Bulstrode. Bulstrode is a hefty barge who carries cargo in. When he arrives, the harbor thrives. A new day can begin. But if it's stormy out at sea and the ships can't get to shore, the work slows down and sailors frown until it's clear once more. Salty. Who loves to unload every ship off the sea? Yo-ho and the bucket of prawns. He's old and he's rusty, but smart as can be. Heave-ho with that bucket of prawns. With troublesome trucks he always gets through. Yo-ho and a barrel of clams. They always will mind him and give him his due. Heave-ho with that barrel of clams. He knows that the sea, chutneys, and many tall tales. Yo-ho and shipload of crabs. And every trick for a life on the rails. Heave-ho that shipload of crabs. When up and the quarry, he yearns for the sea. Yo-ho, and a net full of fish. But down at the harbor he's glad as can be. Heave-ho with that net full of fish. Prawns, clams, crabs, fish. Salty sends a hearty wish. Donald and Douglas. Twin engines from Scotland are we, as alike as two engines can be. Through our number and name just aren't the same. Donald and Douglas. Two engines from Scotland are we, as alike as two engines can be. Though our number and name just aren't the same, we're identical as you can see. Each one will say this of the other, I like to stay close to my brother. So bring on the freight, or the passengers great, as long as we're near one another. The breakdown train. The breakdown train, he has no name. He's quiet, strong, and spare. But if there's a crash and trains go smash, the breakdown train is there. Breakdown train. Spencer. Spencer, silver, sleek and strong, pulls a private car along. On the suspension bridge so high, Spencer almost seems to fly. Harold. Harold the helicopter, chop, chop, chop. Flies so high, chop, chop, chop. Looks down on Sodor, chop, chop, chop. From up in the sky, chop, chop, chop. He goes faster, chop, 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 than most trains, chop, chop, chop. And doesn't get stuck, chop, chop, chop. If it snows or rains, chop, chop, chop. Surveying all, chop, chop, chop. From the air, chop, chop, chop. He soars around, chop, chop, chop. Without care, chop, chop, chop. But when he lands, chop, 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 it's funny that, chop, chop, chop. What's flying now, chop, 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 is Sir Topham's hat. Annie and Clarabelle. Every day in every weather, following Thomas linked together, carrying passengers and their freight, together handling lots of weight, up hills and down hills, in country and town. Flash Thomas's blue, and then our sleek brown. Our branch line is busy and keeps us on track, always together, back to back. Annie sees forward as soon as we've started, while Clarabelle sees where we've just departed. Birdie. Faster wheels, round and round, to Wellsworth Station I am bound. Honk, honk, make way, I have stops to make today. Wah, wah, babies hush, don't cry, I'm in a rush. Vroom, vroom, beep, beep, there's a schedule I must keep. Crossing down, boo-hoo, Thomas goes to Wellsworth too. Stop sign no fare, I really want to beat him there. Hurry, driver, please give chase. Who do you think will win this race? Bill and Ben. Bill and Ben are twins as twins will Bill and Ben as twins will do, like to play a trick or two. They look alike and for some fun pretend to be the other one. And so when bored, Bill often will say he's Ben, and Ben he's Bill. Back and forth these two will go, and which is which you just don't know. At last you're sure who's who, and then Bill says I'm Bill, and Ben I'm Ben. The pair is still, and Bill is Bill, and Ben is Ben, but until when? George the steamroller wants to turn all rails to roads. Railways are no good. Terrence, tilling fields and plowing rows. He's steady, if not fast. He whistles at his engine friends as they go rushing past. He cannot pull a railway car and doesn't push a track, but Terrence comes in mighty handy when an engine's stuck. His splendid caterpillar wheels are great for mud or snow, and when he's finished helping out, back to the farm he'll go. Gordon Part 2. Always rushing, racing by, Gordon almost seems to fly. Even Speedy up a hill, going down, he's faster still. Nearing, passing, peep, and then whoosh! Hey, there he goes again. Old Injuns. Renus is an Injun who is mighty proud to say, I'm old but still can carry folks to market every day. Stepney's kind to one and all. There's reason for his cheer. He's almost ended up a scrap. He's grateful to be here. Sir Handel can be difficult, bad-tempered, don't you know? But if you give him lots of coal, without much fuss he'll go. Skarloey's old guard has retired. His new one seems like fun. Skarloey laughs, I'm oldest of all, and will still outlast each one. One old Injun goes to market. One works extra hard. One old Injun is a grump. One Injun has a guard. These 4 Injuns peep, 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 back home to the yard. Edward. Oh, Edward Blue, may I ride with you, and do things you've done, and see the sights of days and nights, and learn of work and fun? Despite your size, you are so wise, and also very true. I hope someday someone will say, I am like Edward Blue. Emily. Independent Emily has a lot to prove. She's the only female steamy, and she's always on the move. If Thomas can't shunt 3 freight cars, then Emily shunts 4. Emily, independent Emily, has a lot to prove. She's the only female steamy, and she's always on the move. If Thomas can shunt 3 freight cars, then Emily shunts 4. If Thomas wants to make 2 trips, then Emily wants more. Anything that Thomas does, she feels she can do better. If Thomas gets caught in the rain, then Emily gets wetter. Thomas likes to tease her, you're a bossy little buffer. But Thomas knows that for her size no Injun could be tougher. And so they love to play it out, like sister against brother. They really like to think of ways to challenge one another. But if some other Injun ever tries to pick a fight, Emily and Thomas will instantly unite. The Ballad of Henry. Henry is handsome, but Henry was vain. He never liked getting stuck in the rain. Henry would say of his beautiful sheen, I'm the handsomest Injun you've ever seen. Yes, the shiniest Injun that ever was made. My coal must be of the highest high grade. But when he gets snooty, the other trains say, don't forget, Henry, being vain doesn't pay. The others remember that one dreary fall, when Henry was being the proudest of all. He was traveling fast, and his cars all were full of passengers which Henry just loved to pull. The journey was fine, but here is the wrinkle. On this cloudy day it started to sprinkle. I mustn't get wet, Henry whined to the guard. My beautiful paint job will surely be marred. Thus silly old Henry was blinded by pride, so he entered a tunnel and stopped just inside. What's going on? Called the riders and crew. We have places to be and big things to do. But Henry was firm. I am staying inside. And he wouldn't hear as his passengers cried. They pushed and they pulled. They begged and cajoled. But Henry just would not do as he was told. Sir Tophamhat said, We've tried and we've tried. If he will not move, then we will block him inside. So his coal bin was emptied, his wheel cogs were locked, and Henry inside the tunnel was blocked. A non-working engine is quickly forgotten, and it wasn't long before Henry felt rotten. Weeks passed, and poor Henry was filled with despair. The engines passed by as if he wasn't there. Seeing Gordon and Edward still working so bustily made Henry ashamed that he acted so fussily. But to Henry's good fortune, one day things went wrong. The express pulled by Gordon was rushing along, when out in the country, a long way from town, his water pipe burst, and poor Gordon slowed down. No water, no steam, and no steams means no go. What will I do? Gordon wanted to know. There's no other engine to handle this mess, for Edward's too little to pull the express. But what about Henry? Is he big enough? Perhaps he is done with his vanity stuff. The tunnel was open and Henry appeared. He was covered with grime and his paint was all smeared, but he was so glad to be running again, he pushed with the strength of 10,000 men. The express reached the station a little bit late, but Henry, though dirty, was feeling first rate. And just to reward him and pay him his due, they gave him a fresh coat of paint, this time blue. But blue didn't suit him. He much preferred green, so again they repainted, and this time he felt keen. And so Henry learned it's best not to vain, though he still really hates getting stuck in the rain. And fussy he may be, but nevertheless, Henry will help get you out of a mess. Duck, 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 he pulls a train without complaint, in sun or train. He pulls a train along the track, and you won't hear this duck say quack. This duck won't quack. You know that's true, for his real name is Montague. But Montague sounds too absurd, so call him Duck, just like the bird. Perhaps you've heard of Duck, Duck, Goose. Well, Duck's friend tease Duck, Duck, Caboose. James is bright red, with a big yellow dome. His 2 eyes make sure he can find his way home. 3 troublesome trucks in the yard he must shunt, 4 buffers protect him, 2 back and 2 front. You can tell it is James by the big number 5. 6 bees buzzed around him when he moved their hive. He has 7 wheels turning fast on each side. On time at 8 stations he pulls in with pride. 9 passengers smile. They're home now at last. 10 minutes later, he's off again fast. All through the day, James counts what he sees. Each station, those trucks, his bumpers, some bees. He finds counting fun, and it makes the time fly. Do you like to count? Why not give it a try? Mavis. Mavis is a diesel who is really very fine. She works up at the quarry and on the Flacour line. She can travel next to roads where most trains are forbidden, for side plates just like Toby has keep her wheels well hidden. When to the quarry she first came, she didn't know her stuff. The troublesome trucks made fun of her and gave her lots of guff. But Toby, being really useful, showed her what to do. And now that she has learned the ropes, she's really useful too. Harvey. Handy Harvey hardly hears happy engines' hearty cheers. He never ever hears them say, Handy Harvey saved the day. For by the time they think to praise, Harvey's off in other ways to help another engine stuck, or upturned load or broken truck. Troublesome trucks. Snicker, bicker, moan, groan, crash, smash, stuck truck. Toby. Here comes Toby down the hill, along the road, cautiously, busy on his steep branch line, through a tunnel with Henrietta, together bringing their passengers safely home. Murdock. Murdock is perhaps the strongest engine on the isle, yet he is very shy and likes to hang back with a smile. He'll never boast or brag that he is stronger than the rest. He simply always works real hard and always does his best. But when there comes a time that there is a tough job to be done, the other engines all admit that Murdock is the one. So moving heavy loads, whether uphill or in the station, he's earned his strong and shy, kind, and steadfast reputation. Gordon Part 3. After a day going fast on the tracks, finally Gordon gets to relax. As the children of Sodor crawl in the bed, Gordon pulls slowly into his shed. But even while sleeping and deep in a dream, he's big and important and under full steam. Percy. Percy, though he's green and small, is loyal to the end, and everyone on Sodor knows he's Thomas's best friend. He looks to Thomas for advice on what to do and when, and if he makes a small mistake, he'll simply try again. But though he's small and sometimes shy, he's rarely criticized, for all the Injuns realize his worthiness is prized. 'Cause every night, in rain or shine, he heads off without fail, for everyone depends on him to carry all the mail. So when it's dark and all the other Injuns settle down, Percy loads up all the mail and goes from town to town. And if you're lying in your bed and hear a train go peep, it may be Percy hard at work, chugging you to sleep. Really useful Injuns. On the Isle of Sodor, Injuns make life swell. Your Injun pals are always there to help your day go well. They come in every color, brown, red, green, and blue. Some are steamies, some are diesels, but their bonds run true. Thomas, Percy, and the rest are sure that you will find ease upon the tracks of life if you keep this in mind. On the road or in the station, on straight paths or twisty bends, treat each person that you meet the way you treat your friends. Very nice book. Thomas and Friends Railway Rhymes. A fun and fast collection of original poems about all of your favorite railway friends.